So today we're going to take the concept of making an event flyer for our restaurant and put that into action by going into Gravit and using some of the concepts that we've learned about graphic design, the main principles: contrast, alignment, repetition, proximity, and emphasis, and using some of the examples that we've learned about, put those into practice by making our own event flyer. And this is the event flyer on the screen that I'm going to make with you today. So you can kind of follow along and model your flyer after this. So if we go in and take a look at the details, this is what you should have ready. These are the elements that we're going to be putting on the flyer. So the name of the event, your name, logo if you have it. If not, you can just put a graphic that relates to that. Date or when it is, your contact information, some details, and this will be kind of a key aspect of your flyer. Why do you want people to come? What's the hook? Usually some sort of discount or special. Don't give away your whole restaurant, but you want something to draw them in. And then a graphic that relates to the event. So we're going to be putting these concepts of graphic design into practice as we put this together. So I'm going to start in Gravit with a new design, and we're just going to build this on a paper size, or excuse me, a letter size piece of paper. So here we are on a blank page. You're going to notice that I've turned on my rulers. If you go up to the view menu and go to canvas, and you can click on show rulers, that check box will come on and it'll show these rulers here, and you're going to see how I use these as I go along. One of the first things we talk about alignment, if I click on this left-hand ruler and drag out, I'm going to put this on the 1 inch mark. That's going to give me a guide. Now this is non-printing, but it guides my elements. So we talk about alignment. Where do I put elements on the page? This guide will help me keep things in line. So I'm going to start by putting in actually a rectangle that'll be a bleed element. So a bleed element means that this rectangle goes all the way to the edge of my page, and it would print all the way to the edge of the page. Now, if I'm actually doing a bleed element, and I want this to be a gradient, if I'm actually doing a bleed element for real, I would really need to make that go beyond the edges of my page. The printer would then print it on a larger size piece of paper and then cut that down into play. So like we did before, I'm going to create a gradient, but I want this to be kind of related to my ice cream restaurant. That's the restaurant I'm going to be focusing on. So instead of black to white, I'm going to click on this color stop up at the top and change that to something like a blue. And then I want it to go down all the way to pure white, so it kind of just disappears off the screen. You don't have to do a gradient, you don't have to do a rectangle, but we talked about how you can organize your content on the page, separate them. We saw some examples how a rectangle is being used. Here I'm going to use a gradient. You can do your own design, maybe a line or some other graphic. So I'm going to make the title. I want my title to be big. My event is called Wild Wednesdays. I want that to be big. If I go over to my point size, 72 points is an inch-high letter. I have to think about how to type Wednesdays. I always have to say Wednesdays. Looks kind of weird when you type it out like that, but I think that's how you spell it. I want something that looks kind of wild but is still readable. There's this over the rainbow. That's pretty cool, but it's a little bit hard to read. If I go down to something maybe like this paprika, that looks pretty good. So you can kind of go through the fonts and see what you like. Something that relates to what your event's about. This permanent marker is pretty cool. I want the color of that, I'll highlight that text. I want the color of that to be something that brings attention to it. Black would be okay, but I kind of like this really bright color here. Another thing is, I don't like the gap between my lines. I like those words to be closer together. Two options there. I could make these in two separate text boxes. That would be okay. Also, if I highlight them, there's this spacing attribute. We normally call the space between lines kerning, but I can change that down. So try something like 70. That'll bring those more together. All right. Next thing is to put in what is my hook. my hook is that I want the on Wild Wednesdays, you're going to get free sprinkles. Free is always a great word to draw people's attention. I want that to be really thick and bold as I'm going through. Something that really will draw the attention as if people take a look at it. That's pretty good. Free, make that big. If you want to make it bigger than 72, you can actually come up here and click on convert to path, and then you can scale things up and down. So now it's really just a shape that I can scale however I want. Free is a great word. You don't have to do something for free, but it's nice to have that on there to draw attention. People like things that, what am I getting for free? People like things that are free. I'm going to create another text box below here. And you're going to get, and I would like this just to be, for my details, something that's a little bit more simple. And I'm going to say free sprinkles and crunch on, let me hit Control A to highlight that. That's awful big to read here. Let's get this down. Reasonable. Free sprinkles and crunch on any medium or larger cone. Now, one of the things I kind of did there, it's kind of marketing, is people might be used to getting a small cone, and it doesn't cost me that much more to make a medium cone or a larger cone, but I charge a lot more for it. So I'm kind of upselling here, which is okay. It's a promotion. Now, I'm going to move, which is my arrow keys, over to that line using that alignment. Now, I am going to actually import. I still have my logo saved. If you don't have your logo, that's okay. You can bring in just a graphic. We kind of talked about that before. But if you have your logo and you can bring that in, I'll hold down my shift key and scale that way down. And I'll put that down here in the corner. Now, I want that to line up actually on the graphic, not on the box. So, getting this kind of built out, I need a graphic on the screen to draw the attention. Because I'm dealing with ice cream cone, I'm going to go into the libraries. It has my search from before. I just searched for ice cream. You can see what that brought up. And I kind of like this cone right here. And if I hold down my shift key as I scale that up, remember from our talk that you want, big things big and small things small. I want to use my graphic not to decorate, but to draw attention, really grab my eye. And I have it overlapping this gradient here. I'm going to copy and paste, Control C, Control V, because I want repetition here. I want to repeat. I don't want to choose a different font for every piece of text. I want some repetition to keep some similarity throughout my documents. And I want to say Wild Wednesdays. When is it? I'm going to say every Wednesday all summer. And I actually want that to be a little bit smaller. That's my detail there. And you say, well, that's really small. Well, small things have to be small, big things have to be big. I'm going to copy and paste that and bring that down here. Maybe I put it in where I'm at. Oops. Now, if I put text and I want text to be aligned with something on the right, I really should highlight that text and make it right aligned. So now you can see as I bring that in, even though I don't have a guide, come on, you're going to see that it shows me, hey, I'm going to line up with something there. I really want that to be lined across the bottom with my logo and lined up with the edge of this ice cream cone. Give me that strong alignment there. You could put your phone number and other information. So that's basically it. I did it pretty quickly, but you can take your time. You're going to make your event flyer, include all the elements that you have on your event flyer details. Have fun with it. You need to have a big title. You need to have a graphic. You need to emphasize what your promotion is. Include some sort of logo or the information from your restaurant in there as well. When I'm done, I go to File. If you choose Download File, you're going to get the Gravit file. I don't want that. For me, you can have that if you wanted to, say, work on it later. What I need is for you to export. And you can export, really any of these will work, but for me, a JPEG image would be good. So if I click on the JPEG image, that's going to download, and then you can add that into Classroom. So good luck, have fun. If you have any questions, put them in the comments.